Hello, Ho Advocates. How are you? Welcome back to yet another interesting video on milk. Now, we have put up multiple videos explaining milk and why milk is for babies and calves. However, there are people who are addicts of the sugar in milk called lactose, and they will constantly bring issues and questions that are asking, what if I'm using almond milk? What if I use yogurt? What is the difference between kefir and just the normal fermented milk? So possibly this is a video that will get to answer some of those questions so that when you drink that milk, you know exactly what you're doing. Now, milk was designed for babies and calves. And the reason that is because milk is a superfood for these two. It has all the minerals, it has all the fat, the minerals, it has the vitamins, it has the protein, it has the carbohydrate, and all the micronutrients that are actually required for growth and development of the calves and of the babies. It even has high content of fat, aka cholesterol. And when the pharmaceutical companies or the hospitals are telling you to drop cholesterol rich foods, it's a problem because if at all cholesterol was a problem, and then breast milk or a cow's milk has the highest amount of cholesterol, and then we'll be giving these statins to babies and calves because they are the highest consumers of cholesterol. But cholesterol is highly needed for development of the brain, the bones, the hormones, and the system in general. So milk is rich in that. Now, in your supermarkets, there's a lot of different types of milks. We have the skim milk, and the skim milk, I'm telling you for free, it is one of the worst products ever because skim milk is basically the companies removing in the fat. The dairy industry is a big industry, and it will definitely bring in things to just lure you into deceptive marketing so that you can actually buy their products. So they, in conjunction with pharmaceutical companies, they realize that cholesterol is a danger, or the fat in the milk is a danger again. Now, they decided, let's give you milk, the same milk, you can enjoy your milk without having the fat. So they removed the fat, and that's how they ended up with skim milk. So skim milk is basically milk with no fat, but it has the whey, it has the casein, it has all the other micronutrients and all that, plus lactose, the sugar. Remember, lactose is the milk sugar. So when I tell you milk is actually partly a carbohydrate, and then you argue, what I mean is this, I mean lactose, or lactose, sorry. So lactose is a sugar that is metabolized in the small intestines, then absorbed as glucose and galactose. So when you drink milk, you don't absorb milk into the bloodstream. So stop lying to yourself that milk is healthy and natural. You don't absorb milk. What you absorb is actually glucose. And glucose can actually end up spiking your insulin levels. That's a problem. Somebody who is trying to reverse chronic conditions. But how many of you are still drinking milk tea, yet you are diabetic or hypertensive or you have cancer? I've seen a lot of people in the class that I talk to. We have this conversation and they tell me, my doctor tells me to eat everything, to drink milk, the pasteurized milk to be specific, to drink yogurt, and yogurt is just good because I'm going through chemo and there's nothing to avoid. I'm already here. I already have the cancer and I have to go through the chemo. So when I'm going through the chemo, there's no problem with me consuming the sugars. That is a serious problem. So we have the lactose, and lactose is a sugar that is converted to glucose and galactose. These are the milk sugars. Funny enough, galactose in the liver is converted to glucose again. So therefore, at the end of the process of taking milk, you're absorbing glucose, which is sugar. So you can imagine what you're doing to the system if you are told you're diabetic. So drop the tea that has milk. It's just sugar. And you're addicted to that sugar without even knowing. Because the end result is going to get glucose. You spike insulin and blood glucose. You also spike the dopamine hormone, so you feel good after taking the milk. And you start thinking, oh, milk has protein. So allow me to tell you this. Like this types of milk, let's say the skim milk, even the whole milk in the supermarket shelves, what is whole in that milk when it has already been processed and passed through pasteurization processes? What is whole in that? I think whole milk is basically you milking a cow or a goat and then taking that milk without boiling, because when you alter that milk in any form possible, you've messed it up. So skim milk is one of the worst products in the market just because they removed fat thinking that is now healthy, so that you think it's healthy because it has no fats. Realize that you need fat for survival. So that milk is supposed to be left with that fat to still be whole. But these two, the casein and the whey, these are very dangerous proteins and protein extracts that are present in the milk of a cow. And these are the ones that actually bring all these allergies, the gut problems, the skin problems when this milk is actually drunk. Sometimes you see, you get bloated for drinking milk and then you'll blame something else. You either blame the beans or the eggs and all that. But the truth is, you drank milk that has these inflammatory proteins, and they mess up your gut entirely. Okay, this is to those people who actually, when they experience a reflux, they are running to take a glass of milk to actually neutralize the acid. You do not have to neutralize the stomach acid. Allow it to be as concentrated as possible so that it can actually help you or assist you in digestion of the protein in the milk. Okay, now very many questions come in terms of calcium and vitamin D. Actually, most of us consume milk with the hope that it's rich in calcium. Now, people who are going to the gym, people who are suffering bone problems, are constantly taking milk every evening. They are not getting better, but they are not learning. They're still going back to take the milk, hoping that it's a rich source of calcium and vitamin D. Vitamin D is actually coming in from cholesterol, so therefore consume cholesterol-rich foods and then go and enjoy the sun, so that the sun, the UV radiation, activates cholesterol in your skin to form vitamin D. That's how you end up getting vitamin D. Okay, so fat again come in handy. Now, so you can imagine somebody telling you milk has no fat, but it has vitamin D. What a lie. And then now look at this calcium. Milk, and pasteurized milk for that matter, is the worst source of calcium. It has, yes, calcium, yes, but it's the worst because it's non-absorbable. I think a third of it is absorbed through the gut and then goes into the system to actually help you. But realize this, that so much of this calcium is actually just taken out through stool, and sometimes the one that goes into the system is taken out through the kidneys. And you know, calcium can actually cause calcification of arteries, causing you an increase in blood pressure or even cardiac arrhythmias, the abnormal rhythms of the heart. But most importantly, calcium salts are known to cause constipation. So as you take that milk, you end up getting constipation because much of the calcium is actually going out and causing you a lot of constipation. Okay, so you see that. So the skim milk, ignore it. Number two is the whole milk in the supermarkets. There is no food on supermarket shelves. Whatever you're seeing on supermarket shelves is products, is a product. It has gone through processing, high heat. They have destroyed the microorganisms. They have destabilized the protein. They have destabilized the fat structure. We are left with only lactose, which is glucose and galactose, basically glucose, the sugar. So whatever you're taking, and then they add in preservatives. So you tell me, they are telling you, even the yogurt that you're constantly taking, because people ask me, how about yogurt? And then I tell you, there is no food coming from an industry, except the ghees and all that. Buying ghee from the supermarket, that one makes sense. But buying this milk products from the supermarket and thinking is actually whole. Some is written on organic. Like, what organic substance is coming from an industry, to be honest? Yet it has been pasteurized. And pasteurization happens in under different temperatures. One, we have pasteurization happening under 138 degrees Celsius for 2 seconds. That is called the ultra heat treatment, UHT. So you pass this milk under very high temperatures for 2 seconds. You've destroyed all the bacteria. You've destabilized the protein. We say the protein structure is actually destabilized at 40 degrees C. This is 138 degrees C. And actually, all pasteurization processes are happening above 40 degrees C, because we have another one that is high temperature short time, which takes 15 seconds and is at 72 degrees C. Again, very high temperatures. We have 63 degrees C for 30 minutes, another high temperature. Now, at this moment in time, enzymes in the milk have been denatured. So let's say we have an enzyme in the milk that helps to digest lactose. It's called lactase enzyme. How will it be present in pasteurized milk when enzymes are denatured at 40 degrees C? You start to see how I'm saying you end up just taking in the sugars instead of, when you're thinking you're taking in tea that is rich in protein, rich in fat, and rich in all these things, but you're basically taking in a lot of sugars in form of that. So that is the whole milk. Again, high in fat, they say that, but I mean, so if you're taking it straight from a cow, definitely high in fat, high in the protein, which are inflammatory, the whey and the casein, high in calcium, but this calcium is non-absorbable. A part of it is absorbed. Vitamin D, very questionable. And then water, of course. And then lactase enzyme to break down the lactose. And on this lactase enzyme, realize when you start shedding milk teeth as a baby sheds the milk teeth, what happens is they start having a diminished lactase enzyme, because now the body is actually transitioning from taking milk into eating fiber and the meats. So therefore, once you drop the milk teeth, it means milk is not important to you as such. So it should be stopped so that you start eating fiber and the meats. Okay, and that's why we say milk is not for adults. But you see, this content of products in the milk, or this content of nutrition in milk, is actually very good for the baby and for the calf, because they are coming up. But as you come up, you realize that you can actually get calcium from the nuts, almonds, the peanuts, the cashew nuts. You can get it from green leafy vegetables, which are the spinach, the kales, and those kienyeji vegetables that are found in Africa. The bone broth is actually high in vitamin D, and calcium. So bone broth is actually coming in handy. Boil those bones, specifically the long bones, and enjoy the soup. Egg yolks are coming in with vitamin, with calcium, and sardines are also coming in with calcium. So these are the natural sources of calcium that are actually absorbable, and you can tap into these. Once you tap into this, you don't have to take the milk anyway, because milk has casein and whey that are highly inflammatory to the gut. So imagine somebody who has gastritis or the reflux disease going back to take milk to actually neutralize the stomach acid, and then they end up taking in these two, which are basically inflammatory. More problems. Okay, so milk makes it worse in people who have ulcers. Ignore it. Now we have people who are calling themselves, I am lactose intolerant. Realize most adults are actually lactose intolerant, because you said once you lose the milk teeth, this enzyme starts going down, and in most adults it's actually absent. So therefore we are unable to even digest the sugar that is actually in milk to release glucose. This is the reason why we end up getting bloated, indigestion, constipation, because also calcium is coming in handy. So why are you taking milk? Why is it so necessary to you that you should actually take milk when the nature is actually talking to you? And human beings are very weird. We are the only mammals that will grow up, stop suckling our mothers, and then head to suckle a cow or suckle a goat or suckle a camel. Have you ever seen the opposite happening? It doesn't. And if it does, it's very rare occasion. So why are we always suckling a cow? We are denying the calves milk and taking the milk and saying we are taking in calcium. Why don't you let calcium be for the calves and for the babies? And why don't, if actually milk was important, how is it possible that we don't suckle our mothers anymore? Because we should go back. Also, it is interesting how you go and suckle a cow or a donkey or a camel, but if somebody tells you to suckle a donkey, you don't want donkey milk because you think the donkey is a very, very dirty animal. Yet the reality is, whatever a cow eats, a donkey does the same. So what is the difference between the milk that is from a donkey and from a cow? Okay, so we change the species, and we're also very selective with the milk species that we're actually taking in. So yeah, so now there's another one for the plant milk, plant-based milk. I am never an advocate of plant-based milk because I understand where milk comes from, and it has to be from animals. But there are plants that actually press to release the milk, which is basically the soy milk from the soybeans, and also the almond milk from the almond seeds or nuts. So these two, I am not an advocate of them. So if you are shifting from cow milk to almond milk, you're just wasting time. So we'll not even discuss this because I am not an advocate of that. Basically, if you want to take this, then just take the whole almond so that you can actually get in the calcium plus the fat and all that. Okay. And then pasteurized milk, I've told you, is the worst product ever. There's no pasteurized milk. There's just a product, a pasteurized product. It's not milk. So that milk that you're taking and saying, oh, you know, this from this company is the best, this one from this company is the worst, I don't like this, you are actually suffering from addictions of the sugar and the chemicals that are actually being put in this milk. Why is it pasteurized? Because they have to extend the shelf lives. And even when they write on pasteurized and non-sweetened, like the yogurts and the mala that you guys love taking, it's written on unsweetened. That is just to buy your attention. Remember, it's been heated so high, and then they've added in preservatives. And I wonder why ladies also use yogurt to actually clean up their reproductive health systems. The reality is, how is it possible that you can have a product that has milk, and then the same product has microorganisms, and then the same product has a preservative? What is the reason why we have a preservative in this milk? So start asking yourself those questions, and you realize it has been a lie all along. Okay, and then there are people who ask me about brucellosis. So the time I said that for an adult to take milk, there are only two ways. One, either take milk straight from a cow, do not boil it and drink it. Then they started saying, how about brucellosis and all these problems that are brought about by milk? And I was like, hey, do not blame brucella, the bacteria. Blame your gut, because most of us eat foods that mess up our stomach environment. They neutralize the acid in the stomach. And now every microorganism that is coming in with food will mess us up, will actually conquer us. So the first layer of immunity in your gut is the acid. Concentrate that acid and you'll never have to worry about what is coming with the milk, or what is coming with food or water or even air, because that acid is there as your immune system to protect you. So stop blaming things that are coming, microorganisms that we cannot live without them. They will be there anyway. So stop blaming them. Okay, so you go ahead and mess up your stomach environment, then drink milk, and then you get brucellosis, and then now you have a 21-day injection, and you're wondering, why is this not going? Every time you go back and do a brucella test, it turns positive. Another round of injections. You're wasting your kidneys through those injections. Okay, good. Now allow me to take you here. These are the products that you can actually take in milk, or that come from milk and dairy that you can actually take. Some of you, you love coffee, but but black coffee is a problem to you. So you can actually use whipped cream in your coffee to actually make it a little bit flavored. Okay, that is not a problem as such. But always prefer. The word is prefer sugarless black coffee. But if you can, then go for the whipped cream. Cheese is good because cheese is actually a saturated fat, so enjoy it. And then butter and ghee. Ghee is actually clarified butter. So ghee and butter, these are the milk fats. So the milk fats are very good for you because they are coming in saturated. Like ghee is the best for us who are cooking using ghee. You know how the taste, how it tastes in those foods. But there are criminals who are coming in and telling you we have vegetable ghee. You've seen that? Vegetable ghee. Realize ghee is coming from milk that is coming from a cow. So butter comes from milk that comes from a cow. So you clarify that butter, you get ghee. But vegetable ghee is actually hydrogenated vegetable oils. Ignore that nonsense. There's no ghee coming from vegetables. There's no milk coming from vegetables. Okay, so that ghee that is written on vegetable ghee was designed to actually replace this ghee so that you actually are safe in terms of fats. But why are we taking ghee, the animal ghee from milk? We are taking it because it is saturated and we want saturated fats. So do not follow those organizations that lie to you that saturated fats are going to clog your arteries and cause your heart attack or a stroke. Enjoy your ghee, okay, as you're cooking fat, also as tallow. But there are people who actually use ghee on bread. They drop margarine and they start using ghee on bread. Some of you cook your chapatis using ghee. That is a waste of ghee. Okay, you cannot use wheat. You cannot take wheat and take ghee at the same time. You can't mix healthy and unhealthy foods and then claim, you know what, I cook my chapatis with ghee and I'm safe. It's very, very much unsafe. Okay, and then the last thing that I have to talk about on this, and if you have any question, kindly put it in the comment section so that I can actually pick it and address it. Okay, so we move as a team. Now we have the milk formulas. This is where crimes begin. Imagine you as a lady, you've eaten all the wrong foods, you've gotten pregnant, you've had a chance to have diabetes in pregnancy or eclampsia, the hypertension in pregnancy, and it has actually led you to getting a CS. And then when you get that CS, you give birth to a child, and now you're unable to express breast milk because of the bad diets and lifestyle that you've been living. Now, we have to put that child on milk formulas. This is a serious thing in terms of allergies in children, in terms of asthma, skin problems like eczema and all that. And you've seen children having a lot of skin problems and a lot of respiratory tract problems. This is a problem. If you've given birth through a CS, you started the game at 1-0 down. That means breast milk has to come in handy, and breastfeed for 6 months straight without any other thing, not even water, because breast milk has every component that that child or that baby needs. So the milk formulas were designed for special populations. So allow it to be that way. Okay? If you're going to use milk formulas in your child just because you cannot express breast milk, you're punishing your baby for your own mistakes. So start preparing for that pregnancy before you get pregnant. Start eating clean, lose that weight, just lead a healthy life. And then when you get pregnant, you'll move through that pregnancy with a lot of ease. You'll be able to produce enough breast milk for your child for the next 6 months. So this one has a lot of whey and casein. These are basically the inflammatory proteins because it's actually coming from a cow's milk. So a lot of whey, a lot of casein, high in sugars, both added and non-added. So it has high in fructose, which is causing an inflammatory liver to your child, and high in lactose, which can actually be serious problems to the digestion system of the child. They are unable to digest cow's milk. And then they lie to you that it has vitamins and minerals because it has been fortified. Anything that is fortified, look keenly. You might realize it's a serious lie, okay? Yeah, because why would they remove the vitamins from the milk only to bring it back in terms of fortification? Should be a lie, right? And then it has the vegetable oils, inflammatory to the gut of the child, to the entire system of the child. What is a vegetable oil doing in a milk formula that is designed to have natural fats? If it's coming from a cow, it's supposed to have natural fats. So why is vegetable oil being added in, specifically canola, being added in to just destroy your child? Then the biggest problem is now the soy. Not only is soy inflammatory, soy is also estrogen. This is one of the reasons why, of course, there's a problem with the boys nowadays. A lot of boys behaving like girls and all that, wanting to have these feminine characters and characteristics because of estrogen that is coming in. They suppress their testosterone levels by loading in estrogen. This is also coming in from the cereals that we feed our children, the soybeans and all that. They have high content of soy, and that is estrogen that actually lowers testosterone in boys. In girls, it increases estrogen levels. And what does that do to the girl? hormonal imbalances, the acne, the obesity, the mental health problems, the endometriosis, the infertility, irregular periods and painful menstruation. All these things coming in because of high estrogen in these women or these girls as they get into puberty. So please stop feeding your children with soy products, soy milk, soy milk formulas, soy products like soya beans and soy tea and all that high in estrogen. Okay, so when you get these children, the boys, into their puberty or their teenage, and they're starting to have erectile dysfunctions, having a premature ejaculation, behaving like women and girls, and trying to do activities that are actually related to the feminine nature, that is basically what you fed them from the beginning. So do not mess those children. So this is basically a video about milk, and I hope that anything that I've not captured on this, you can put it in the comment section so that I can actually answer and we move forward.